What's up, everybody? TI Trading Woods here, coming at you guys with another video. So I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple weeks ago, I did a video that is going over 2-minute breakout setups, right? Using the 1 minute for the confirmation of the breakout and then using the Renkos, right? I want to go over this again because I want to drill this into people's head because this is a great setup for getting payouts. I cannot stress this enough. It is so simple and it sets up all the time. So one of the things that we're looking for on the 2-minute chart, and we're going to jump over to the main screen here. We're going to jump to the 2-minute chart. We'll jump to Friday, right? We start getting this big move down, right? One of the things that I'm looking for on this big move down is a little bit of a pullback. You can see I drew a trend line on that pullback. On pullbacks like this, I want to see it move to the 21 or the 50 moving average on the 1-minute chart. I want to then take that trade off the 21 or the 50 moving average, depending on the day, depending on how strong the move is. So if I drop down, wow, what do you think the chances are that we form a level on the 21 moving average right here? Right now, could I take this off the 21 moving average? Yes. If I did take it off the 21 moving average, I would keep my stop probably relatively tightly, probably within 10 points, right? If I got a really good entry, right, I'd probably keep it real tight, 10 points. Why? Mainly because if this next candle right here decides to rip up, right, where's the next point? If it happened on this candle right here, where's the next point of potential rejection? Is this 50 moving average, right? Do I want to stay in that for 40 points? I can tell you right now, no. I don't want to be in that. I don't want to hold a 40-point move against me, right? I'd rather sell off a 10 and re-enter if I have to. This is where discipline is hard, especially if you don't have if you don't have an idea of where your stops, where the next level of resistance is, and you're just holding through, you're kind of just all willy and nilly with your stop, that can come to bite you, especially with how quick NQ moves. So you have to be kind of prepared and know how NQ moves and know where you're going to be able to take off the trade and where you're going to add into the trade, stuff like this, right? And then looking at the pivot point for my target was like, near 100 points here. So the risk to reward on this trade is insane, first off, right? So this is you should have taken this trade, right? If you were looking at the charts correctly. And it would have been a great trade. Now, we can do this for pretty much any 2-minute setup. So it's like, we go back, we kind of can go back. You can kind of see how I have these lines drawn, right? This one wasn't that great of a setup, but it was still worth taking. I'll show you that, how we dropped down to the 1 minute on Thursday, right? We zoom in, December 6th, Thursday. This was a little bit different of a move here. This was this move right here, right? So I had that trend line kind of drawn like this on the 2-minute, right? What I was looking for was a rejection potentially off the 21, a close below the 9 of this trend line, right? And that continuation, right? This is a little bit iffier. If I would have taken this off the 21 here, right, and we started to reject off the 9, I am breaking even on that trade 100% of the time, right? If we fail to close below this 9, I don't want to be in that trade anyways, right? Now, then I would be looking for, is the 50 going to be a point of rejection? If it's not, potentially, where's the next place of rejection that could happen, especially when we're clustered up like this and we're forming a pretty strong V, right? I'm looking for VWAP then, right? VWAP is going to be that next level of potential rejection. We start to get a nice wick through VWAP and we start to close under. Now, if I was to take this trade off of VWAP, right, where would my take profit be? How much am I willing to risk to make this amount of money, right? Now, I can tell you right now that if you risk 10 points here, right, I'd be aiming for at least 30, right? But that's like a 40-point move. That's a decent risk to reward. Now, you might be wondering, well, why would you even target down here? It's the pivot point. So we're oscillating between VWAP and the pivot. If we go back to the 2 minute, you can see that. You can see this break. Here's VWAP right here, right? On the 1 minute, right? And then you can see where we formed the level is retesting that pivot. That happens a lot. That's a good trade. 4-to-1 risk to reward. I can move my stop, right? Now we're above the pivot. We look like we're about to probably try to push VWAP, because now we're oscillating between VWAP and the pivot point. One of these two is going to give out now, right? So once we push above the pivot, now we're pushing above VWAP on the 1 minute, right? Now I'm looking for potentially long. So you can see how I drew a trend line right here around 10:38. We hop back over to the 1 minute chart, right? And that's this trade right here. You can kind of see where we start to come down. We form a level on VWAP again and the 50 moving average, right? I go long, you know, and I was looking to make, 47 points, 50 points. I would like to see it go up to the second deviation. It never did before we got this drop. So you do have to kind of monitor it. This was a very, very slow day on Thursday. So you kind of have to just be careful with stuff like that when things are slow. But nevertheless, even if I would have stayed in this trade, right? And I did want, say if I was stubborn and I really want to be, hold for that 50 and walk away, right? Say I wanted 50 points or nothing and risk 10, right? It still would have played out. Would not have been ideal, right? I would much rather get out, especially once the 9 closes over that 21 right here. Once we start to fail on this 21, right? I would very much like to take my profit and get out and maybe re-enter if I see that VWAP is holding support again. But the idea here is that all these trades are really good risk to reward first off, right? I'm risking 10 points to make 40, I'm risking 10 points to make 100, risking 10 points to make 30, right? If you wait for good setups. Now, would I take this trade? Would I have taken not this trade? Let's say this last trade from the VWAP to the pivot, if the pivot was maybe only 20 points away? Probably not. It's a much tighter range. I don't trust the trade. We have 2 strong levels, right? The trade could go either way. Not ideal, not worth risking 10 points to make 20, in my opinion. Not when you have bigger plays that play out all the time on NQ, where you can risk a lot less to make a lot more, right? And this is one of these setups where it works really well, I feel like, in the first 2 hours of the trading day, right? Or right after a news event, right? And does not work so well, on right before a news event, right? This is not something, if we're like, this was a very, 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 very choppy day right here, right? But we were chopping in the upwards trajectory, right? We could probably drop down to the 2 minute, draw the trend line thing. You can see the bounce on the 21 right here. Probably would have been able to take that on this little move down, right? What I don't want to do, what I don't think people should do, is wait for a little pullback to the 9, right? The 9 is iffy, right? The 9 is not as strong as the move, and sometimes we will retest, like right here, we'll retest that same level over and over and over again. Thing I like about taking the trades off the 21 and the 50 moving average is really simple, is a lot of times it doesn't come back to retest. So a lot of times I can break even the trade. It doesn't always work out in my favor. Sometimes I will break even, but it's the fact that I can break even on a trade relatively quickly is a huge benefit, especially when trading prop. So that's the 2 minute and that's the 1 minute. The last thing is the Renko chart in conjunction with all this, right? This is that same move on Friday. So the same move that I showed you on the 2 minute on Friday, right? And on the 1 minute. So we'll just go over this. And again, this move right here, that's up to this 21, right? This is what that move looked like on the Renko chart, right? We get this nice move up, right? This is where things start to get interesting, because on the Renko chart, you can draw a trend line a lot cleaner, right? This is a really clean trend line, right? Once we see this trend line break, we see on the 1 minute that we're bouncing off that 21 moving average. This is a valid entry right here, right? That's a very, very valid entry, right? And a lot of times on a Renko, especially once we break that 9 on the 1 minute chart, that we will not come back to test that level, right? So you can see how we continue, get that push down. This is important to understand, that it is really easy to see this on the Renko, I think, right? You have this move to the top band, right? A little bit of a short, another move to the top band, consolidation, lower high here, right? Break up this trend, and then continuation to the downside. It is an easy thing to see right here, okay? It's easier once you add the 1 minute and the 2 minute chart as a confluence to this move. It is beautiful, right? This is what I mean by, it's like you can't just use one chart, right? And if you want to know the Q line and the Q Pro settings for this, I go over that all the time. It's 33, 256, 55.5. And then my Q grid settings is pretty much this, and then I turn a lot of this stuff off. So you can pause the video and go over that. The other thing is that you could technically try to trade with the Q grid here, right? Now the Q grid does flip right here, right? And you could have maybe got a little bit of scalp. You probably would have lost this trade, maybe would have won this trade, and probably would have won this trade for sure if you would have gone short there, right? This is not perfect, right? But it does give you some type of idea. Like for example, if you would have shorted till here and gone long here, right? And then got out when this actually flipped, that would have been a loss. But you also know that a lot of times we get midline bounces here. So that's kind of a thing to watch out for. I mean, there's different ways of trading this, but I think using the 1 minute, the 2 minute, and the Renko is a beautiful way to have incredible confluence, and it is the most beautiful entry. Now, what do I use the higher time frames for? Because you do see the 5 minute, you do see the 15 minutes. Now, I use this to see overall structure in the market. A lot of times I flip on and on the smart money concepts here, right? I definitely keep the smart money concepts on the 15-minute chart. This is where, when I'm looking for entries on my smaller time frames, which is kind of backwards from what most people tell you, right? Most people tell you to look for entries on higher time frames, then go lower time frames to try to find those entries. I don't typically do that, which is kind of the wild thing. Typically, I'm looking for my entries on smaller time frames, and then I'm looking at my larger time frames to identify where I want my take profit levels to be, right? Like we get this little pullback here on the 15-minute chart. That looks really good on the 1 minute. Where is that next level that I'm looking for to take profit? Here, right? We're forming support on this level down here, right? If I take a long, right, where do you think my take profit's going to be? Probably this pivot level, right? If I did go short here, if I wasn't at short, where's my next take profit going to be? Probably here. If I go long here, where's my next take profit going to be? Probably this level, right? Maybe even if we do break this previous level, maybe I'm going to aim for VWAP, right? Or monthly VWAP, right? These are the things that not a lot of people tell you, right? There's so many different ways of trading, right? But I think that the 5 minute chart is also an incredibly powerful chart to trade on as well. But I think if you use the combination of a 2 minute, 1 minute, and a 4-box Renko, right? I think that you can be incredibly profitable just using those. I think you can be incredibly profitable just using a Renko chart. But the thing about the Renko chart to me is that you lose the idea of where your take profit levels should be, right? You don't see the pivot points. You don't see, it's harder to see where these support and resistance levels are, right? If you're just trying to trade with the trend, right, I think you can easily use Renkos only. I might make a whole video series next year where I'm just trading on a Renko chart. I think it'd be interesting. I think it's more than possible to do, right? But I think that you can increase your win rate significantly by using a combination of the 1 minute, the 2 minute, and the Renko. I would honestly probably put the smart money concepts put smart money concepts on the 2-minute chart, which is not what I don't have that toggled on right now. And order blocks on the 2-minute. No, I do have smart money concepts. So I have smart money concepts on my 2-minute chart. I also have the TI Trading Wiz order blocks on the 2-minute chart. Those two things are a must. I think you have to have those. I think that, and then I think that you use the Renkos. I mean, if I had to pick two charts, I would probably pick, and the 2-minute and the 1-minute are just so crucial to my scalping style of trading breakouts, where I don't think I could go without either one of them. I think that I also can't go without the Renko. These three charts to me are like the most critical three. Like if I had to pick any of them to trade off of, like if I'm scalping, those are the three that are like kind of the most crucial to me. I would say the stacked and balance is pretty high up there as well. The stacked and balance is definitely up there. So that's it. I mean, to do what you want with this info, again, this is just a quick way, hopefully, to get you guys to a payout in a relatively short period of time. I know plenty of people that I've taught the same type of setup to, right? That have got to payouts recently. So, and if you don't believe me, go in the QuantVue Discord server yourself, right? And what I want you to do is I will show you. Go to the QuantVue Discord server. Even if you're not a member, right, you will have access to the public chat and the Profits and Wins chat, right? And you can scroll through and you can see people that are having days like this: 800, 100, negative 200, $1,000, $1,800 week, right? This is a new person. He's very new. He's only been using our system for probably a week. You know, this is his first week. This is a new symbol. This is a new user, right? And we have tons of people that are using our system for the very first time and becoming profitable traders, right? We also have people in here that are incredibly experienced, right? That are posting their trade setups, how they're trading, what indicators they're using, posting how they use and when they entered, they exited, and how many points and how many ticks, and showing you the confirmation, the whole breakdown, right? I even do that sometimes on some of my trades as well. And when you become a member, sometimes even in the pro lounge, what I'm doing now is I am coming in here, right? And I am posting, right? So you can see right here, I said, you know, at the 686 level, right? You see buyers building up. Orders move to the 87 level. This is live. This is right in this time frame, right? If you actually go back and you want to map this, you can see this at 1112, right? That's that 687 level marked in orange that I said the buyers are building up. When we started to dip down to, look exactly where we bounced, right? It's not luck, y'all. It's not luck. So, you know, there are other ways of trading is what I'm getting at. It's not as simple as just using 3 charts sometimes, but I, in the Discord channel with the QuantVue system to our members, I try to add value when I can. When I see something like that, that's very likely, I am more than glad to share that in the pro channel with people. So make sure you guys like, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.